Hello, I'm James Barth from Rock Hard 4x4, and I'm going to take a few minutes of your time here today and show you our JL rear bumper. Now this bumper is designed without our tire carrier system here on the right hand side, so this is a bumper only where you utilize the factory carrier, you utilize one of our cooler mounts, or you utilize some of our can mounts that we have that mount right here to your tailgate, or you have the installed tailgate option that we offer also. So I want to go through a few of the features with this. Now this is our second design for the JL where we've done some improvements or changes. We've went ahead and got away from the actual D-rings and went to hooks. This has helped a little bit, as every once in a while on all the different bumpers that are out there, sometimes the actual shackles themselves can be sensed by some of the sensors. So with the hooks, they're stationary, we don't get any of the sensing from that. These are cut out of 3/4 inch steel. So going to our actual hooks here, like the Gladiator and some of the other vehicles, we've eliminated that. Now it does utilize the factory electrical wiring for all of your sensors, which is a plug and play system with our sensor holders. It utilizes the factory light that is in your bumper for your license plate. It has a setup to block off or to use the electrical harness that is the factory Mopar style. We have it showing here with our 3-inch extension receiver, which we make, and we also make a standard length, and it works with the factory one, so it doesn't matter what you have there, it works with all of them. This bumper is made out of 1/4 inch steel or 1/4 inch aluminum. Thanks for looking at the Rock Hard 4x4 product. Now we're going to go ahead and show you how to do the install, which will include removal of the factory bumper and installation of this one. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to go and show you the installation of this rear bumper. Now to do that, we need to uninstall the factory bumper. What we're going to do is we're going to take the factory camera mount off. Use a Torx 30 right here. You unlock it, you pull it off. Then you're going to go ahead and use a socket and remove the spare tire, which will be done here with these 3 bolts. We've used a 7/8 socket there to remove the factory lug nuts. Now I'll go ahead and drop down the spare. We're going to go ahead and lift the vehicle here just to show you to make it easier so we could get camera angles to show you where to remove the hardware. First of all, we're going to go ahead and start off by removing these 2 bolts here. The bracket that goes forward on the lower frame on both sides. That'll be done with a 16mm. Now go ahead and grab a 21mm and remove the bolts on the tow hooks. There's another 2 bolts going in the side up here that we'll get to now. Now that we've done the driver's side tow hook bolts, we'll go ahead and remove the bolts that go in the side of the frame on the passenger side here. Using a 21mm socket. A couple different things. All these Jeeps have factory rear bumpers that vary quite a bit. The biggest thing that we want to talk about here is, you know, this particular one happens to be a 392, whether it's a standard JL, whether it's a sport. Basically what you're doing is you're removing the factory bumper. Now they bolt up somewhat different. This particular one has an extra piece here in the bottom of the wheel liner. We're going to go ahead and remove that so we can get to the extra bolts on the back side. But the biggest thing you need to do is just remove your factory bumper, set it on a table, which we'll show here in a few minutes, so we can show you how to do the electrical. Now this will allow us to get to these bolts here to finish the removal of the rear bumper. Now we're going to use a 16mm socket on this particular Jeep to remove these outer bolts. Go ahead and remove the body plug here that holds the electrical in and the one up above. Okay, that'll allow you to bring your electrical down. So you're going to pull out on this little plastic piece here like this and go ahead and push in and pull it apart. Now this bracket on this particular bumper, we just kind of bend it out of the way a little bit. That'll allows it to slide off the rear of the Jeep. Now that we've went ahead and released all the hardware and stuff, we're going to go ahead and remove the bumper. Make sure as you remove it that you don't have any electrical connections still in there. Now what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to go ahead and remove the inner structure to go ahead and get the electrical out along with the lights. Now here's the thing, there's a lot of different factory rear bumpers, whether it's the plastic one, which they make a couple different versions, whether it's the steel one that they make multiple different versions of. The biggest thing that we're after here is we're going to go ahead and remove the electrical from the sensors. Now, because our electrical connection is here, it goes on the driver's side. We've kind of reversed this here for filming purposes. But what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and take a magic marker, and we're always going to start with number 1, which is where the pigtail is on the driver's side where it come off of. We're going to go ahead and mark the sensor of what was top and which number going all the way across. Then we'll go ahead and remove the electrical and go ahead and remove the sensors. We want to remove the light for your license plate, and we'll go ahead and start to that next area. What we've done here is we went ahead and removed the sensor. Now you'll notice on the sensor itself there's 2 clips here. What I normally do is just take a screwdriver beside each one and then push the sensor out from the face of the bumper going inward. That'll allow you to remove them. Now on each sensor what we did is we marked number 1, starting with the electrical plug side, 2, 3, 4, and we also marked which one was up. That way we push the orientation of the sensors back in the same area. Then we also removed the electrical for the light. There was 2 bolts here on the back side of the plastic bolts that took a 10mm wrench to remove. We went ahead and did that to remove our license plate light. Now that we've got the electrical sensors out of here and the electrical for the light, we can go ahead and discard our factory bumper. We're going to go ahead and remove the electrical. On this particular install, this Jeep was equipped with the factory holder. Now what we're going to do is we're going to install this into our rear bumper so that because the bumper would cover a portion of it. So we're going to go ahead and remove it and install it in our bumper using a 16mm socket. Now that we've went ahead and remove it, we'll remove it from the holder by compressing these clips, the top and the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about the receivers that we build for your Jeep JL. Now, if you're doing your bumper install and don't have a receiver, Rock Hard 4x4 has that option for you. We make a standard length receiver and we make a plus 3-inch extension receiver. What that does gives you additional 3 inches of length here on the end of the receiver, gets your towing past here. Now, this way here is shorter, which means you don't lose any on your departure angle, and also it keeps your hitch nice and tight and tucked. But if you're looking for like bike mounts and other things like that where you need a little bit of extension, we have that plus 3 receiver available for you also. Okay, we're going to go ahead and install the 3-inch extension receiver here on this Jeep JL. We're going to go ahead and set the bolts through here to hold it in place like here, and then we're going to go ahead and install the bolts coming from the forward side of this cross member into the rear weld nuts here next, using a 5/8 socket to tighten them when we get everything installed. Now that we've went ahead and put the Rock Hard 4x4 receiver on, or if you have your factory one, everything will be finished up there. We're going to go ahead and load the rear bumper. What do we mean by that is we're going to go ahead and install the electronics in it. First of all, what you want to do is you want to locate the clips and the brackets here for the sensors. Now, there is 2 different thicknesses of clips. You're going to use the thinner one on the Rock Hard 4x4 1/4-inch bumpers. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take the sensor that we have now, the ones that we marked. Remember we started off on where the electrical comes into the vehicle as number 1, and so that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to show you how this goes together. You're going to push the front of this sensor holder through. Now what you do is you line it up with your sensor so you can know how that goes together. Okay, and that'll be determined on this side with that little tab right there going into that place. But what you want to do is you want to put the sensor holder through the outside of the bumper like this, and then you're going to push on the back side. You're going to put this clip, it's going to go like that, and that holds that sensor in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this through the face of the bumper. We'll take a rubber mallet and just tap that. Now we're going to go ahead and put the clip on the back side. Now we're going to go ahead and take our sensor that we marked in the up position and the number 4 and clip it in place. Now we ran the wire through the holder, through the opening in the bumper. Now we're going to go ahead and do number 3, which is right here. So we'll get our sensor holder. Okay, we'll orient it so it is the same as for the sensor, with our arrow going up in number 3. So that goes like that. So we're going to push this through the face of the bumper. We're going to take a mallet and tap it on the back side. Now we're going to go ahead and install the clip and install the sensor. Now we'll go ahead and repeat the process for the other two locations. If you don't have rear sensors, go ahead and install our delete plugs, which will plug the hole in the face of the bumper. These just go in with a rubber mallet also. Now we're going to go ahead and install the light, push it through the face of the bumper from the outside, and install the factory nuts on the back side. We're going to go ahead and plug the electrical back in. This will illuminate our license plate, all with the factory wiring. And now we're going to go ahead and install our electrical for our towing. I want to talk to you a little bit about your electrical for your towing harness. If you buy a factory style harness that comes with the nice big plug, that will bolt right into our holder here and then right on to here. If you don't have the electrical, or you don't plan on towing a trailer with the electrical, we have a block off plate here to cover this hole. But for today's purpose, we're going to go ahead and install this bracket, which will in turn allow us to clip in our factory receiver electrical. We've went ahead and located the 4 bolts that go through the face of the bumper, well, through the bracket, through the face of the bumper, and then we're going to go ahead and install these washered nuts on the back side. Now we're going to go ahead, we've put the bracket on the bumper, and we're going to go ahead and install the electrical plug. These clips, you want to make sure that once it's all in that they spring back out. You can check that from the back side. You just want to push it in like that, make sure it's solid, check your clips on the back side, and then we're going to go ahead and install the license plate plug pieces. These allow to put threads here in the aluminum bumper so that we can put a license plate in it. You're just going to push those in place. And then go ahead and start the bolts and then you'll put those in with the license plate. When doing the install of the rear bumper, on the driver's side you had the factory tow hook, which allowed you to have threads inside the frame. On the rock hard 4x4 side, or the passenger side now, we're going to go ahead and install a nut plate that's marked front and top. And you just simply slide it in here so that it lines up with the bolts on the hole openings on the bottom of the frame. This puts nuts inside the frame just like the factory. Now we'll go ahead and set the bumper on in place and go ahead and start putting bolts in. Now there's 4 black bolts in your hardware kit. These are going to go inside of the inner wheel well on outer sides, both left and right. You're going to go ahead and just line them up, and there's 2 bolts are going to go through the bumper and into the frame. Now we're going to go ahead and leave all hardware loose until we get all the lower hardware started, and then we'll tighten everything at once. Now we're going to go ahead and locate your tow hooks and the spacer and the metric bolts. Now the metric bolts are going to be marked 8.8 on the outside, and they're going to be the larger ones. These are going to go, what you're going to do is you're going to put the tow hook through the bumper, okay, and then you're going to put the spacer on top of the tow hook with the bolt going through, up through into the frame. Metric bolts are used on the driver's side. Now, we've had customers ask, can you orient the tow hooks in or out? And yes, you can. They will work either way. Now I want to talk a little bit about the hardware and the installation of this bumper. We got the bumper on in place. We've installed the 4 bolts, the 2 on the outside going into the frame. Those are your 14mm metric bolts. Now we've also installed the 2 14 by, I think they're around 70 or 75 lengths here, going into the frame. These are the metric on the side that goes into those factory nuts that are inside the frame. And we've went ahead and installed the 1/2 inch ones over here, the standard thread, with our nut plate inside the frame, and also the 2 bolts coming from the outside. Now that we've got everything in place, we're going to go ahead and reconnect our electrical. We're going to go ahead and bring these bolts tight on each side on the bottom, and the 2 on the outer side of the frame rail on each side. We're going to go ahead and tighten the outer frame rail ones first, allowing us to get to those and to snug those in place, and then we'll go ahead and snug the bottom ones up and finish our install.